welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello and welcome to the Live Loving live stream. I think I have a comment from last week still left up. And here I am contacting you from the fabulous John of News Studios here in fabulous Akron, Ohio. I hope you guys are all having a phenomenal week. I know that I certainly am having a phenomenal week. It's been just a great week. And I wanted to lead off tonight with something I think you guys all should check out. There's an internet page out there called thegoodnewsnetwork.org, and it's a website that's solely dedicated to positive news stories. And I'd like to lead off with one of the stories I read on there tonight, where a bunch of Halloween trick-or-treaters came up to a house and the candy bowl was empty. So they refilled the person's bowls from their own bags so that other people could have candy on Halloween. You know, that's it. That's it. That's the show for tonight, right there, in my mind. That idea that they can walk up and do such a loving gesture, saying we're here for each other, and those people who haven't gotten candy yet, we have enough that we can share. To me, that was one of the most beautiful stories I have ever heard in a long time. So I really wanted to hop in and kind of share that story. It's pretty phenomenal that the kids were doing that. But once again, that website is goodnewsnetwork.org. And that way, if you just want to read good stories, that's a great place to go find them. I'm going to jump up and you guys are kicking butt already. I hope you're doing well. So let me just jump up and dive right into your questions. I'm going to try to. You guys over the past couple of weeks have been slamming me so hard that I'm trying to play catch up. So I want to jump right on it hard and really get into the questions. So first one I see on here is Monica asked, "What are my thoughts on the Course in Miracles?" Course in Miracles, I think a lot of Jeshua's teachings are in there. I think they are. It is channeled through someone who is channeling through their own filter. Or some things in there that are very make it longer than it needs to be. And for me personally, I think Jeshua was all about being very present, and I don't think he would ever have dictated a course that takes a year to learn that lesson. However, maybe some people need that kind of lesson that way. But my personal take on it is that the message is good. And that it was channeled through someone, and their own filter was part of that process, which is about all channeling. All channeling comes through the filter of the channel, and so there's not one out there that's pure. It's a matter of you going through and taking the things that are true for you, and making sure that is, you follow your own heart and your own discernment. There's no one that should tell you what exactly you should do. That is really up to you to decide that. I'm going to zip back down. Hey guys, also my friend Marcy is having a contest when she reaches what number is it? Marcy, put that in the chat board. She's going to give away 2 of her free readings. So make sure if you're not subscribed to jump over to her channel. The way you do that is you click on her name. Spirit made me do it in the chat board there. If you click on her name, it'll give you the option of opening a window and going to her page, and you can just go there and click subscribe and go back and look at it later because you'll be able to see all her stuff all the time. Tritark, you're right. That is very much loungy sort of music that Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin would absolutely sing. Hello, everyone. My sister Patty's in the house, so make sure you're good. Fly me to the moon. And then I did my little blue joke. Well, Linda, welcome. Linda Hollander, welcome. That Next Level Soul, by the way, my second interview with Alex should be going up this next week. And I want to thank everybody who's helped me. We're now over 13,000 subscribers. And I suspect after Alex does his next interview, puts it up, it's going to be jumping up yet again. So I'm very excited about that. Jumping down, April, Rich, hello. Sarah, hello. Lynn, hello. Albina, hello. Kuldeep. Is it Kuldeep? I hope that's the correct pronunciation. But Kuldeep Dhaliwal. Kuldeep Dhaliwal. If I'm saying that right, give me a thumbs up. Because I think names are the coolest thing ever, and I always want to hear about it. Rich, let me put this one up here. What are your thoughts on the new Earth that everyone's talking about? It's so weird that you would ask me that question, and I have a video coming out tomorrow about spiritual entrepreneurship and how people are selling pathways. They're selling you pathways to give you solutions for your life, and they're kind of leading you. And the new Earth, the 5D, all these things are just pathways. They're just pathways that they're selling so that they can get more ad revenue. And it's interesting because I did a study this past week. It was one of the things I was doing this past week was just going out and see what other spiritual talkers or speakers were talking about. And I kept finding the same pattern over again. They get you feeling like you're being led to them. They tell you that they are just a little bit further down the road than you are. They get you convinced that they're going. One of them actually says he's already in the 5D, and that when you all should come meet me here, where it's so wonderful. And it just really, to me, it's like marketing disempowerment, and to me it's Jeshua's whole thing was be here, be now. He said he literally said, be here today, tomorrow will take care of itself. And so it literally becomes a matter of you being here. The whole concept of prophecy and things in the future are things that can be sold. And I did a video a while back about the end times, and I made a list of how many times the end times have been predicted since the dawn of time. As thousands of times it's been predicted they're going to come. That's all that's happening now with all of these new pathways that they're showing us. They're not really helping. They're just disempowering and making you believe in something that they're telling you is an absolute, but there is nothing ahead of you that's fated or destined. And one of them, even, what's his name? I think his name is Aaron Doherty. He actually claims that thousands of people have already left and have gone to the new Earth. So it's getting to the point where the new Earth thing is going to fade soon, because now they're getting to the point where they have to say it's already we've already lost people, or people have already left and moved to the new Earth. So it's to me, it's just marketing. It's just marketing to get people to watch their channels. Luz Bailey, that's a cool name too. You guys have cool names. I have the most generic name in history, John Davis. What makes people? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking here, Chitra, just because I don't understand. What making people do exactly will stay hate in others? I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, there you go, Rich. There's the new Earth thing. Let me jump down. Hello from Maui, down now. Halloween story, hi cookie. All right. I'm getting down here to the bottom. I think I'm going to be with you guys this time, maybe. What other questions do you guys have? Kuldeep Dhaliwal. What a great name. I'm a name person. I just love them. Here's something interesting. This is a great question. Where do you find someone to regress, my son, or even do a past life regression? The interesting thing about past life regressions is you need to find somebody who's really qualified. And when I say qualified, I don't mean someone who has studied an online course or someone who has been trained by someone who's a YouTuber. You need to find a certified hypnotherapist who does regressions rather than a past life regression therapist, because a certified hypnotherapist will actually keep their own beliefs out of the regression. They're very good at keeping their questions very clean of their belief. But there's there's one person online who I've made a couple of videos about who is very well intentioned, was a very nice woman, but when you actually dive into her stuff, you find that she was not very good at keeping herself out of the regressions. And when you dive further into her actual training, she learned it through a mail-in course. What she learned was not hypnotherapy. She learned hypnotism for the stage, which is all based on suggestion, on giving suggestion. And so her whole method is based around giving suggestion. And once she had an idea, it kind of blended into the next person's regression. So find somebody the way I found mine, and mine was when the internet was very young. I did a search for a certified hypnotherapist, and then I added past life regression. And I checked their credentials before I approached her. Now, if they're good, what's going to happen is you're going to go meet them. They're not going to do it online. They're not going to do it with a tape. What I did was I went to her office. She guided me through a meditation and sent me home with a tape to train to her voice for a week. And I trained to her voice for a week so that I could be very used to her voice. And then when I came back to do the regression, it was very easy because I was already trained to her voice. And so the regression went really smoothly. So she was very professional. Unfortunately, she's now retired because you got to remember my first regression, a couple months before I painted that, was in 1999. So we're talking 20 some odd years ago. So but look for somebody who's really good, who's really qualified specifically. Debbie K, I don't know what do you mean by snake oil? What's snake oil? I know what a snake oil salesman is, but what is your meaning of saying it in here? Actually. Linda Smith. I could have been John Smith. I'm literally very happy that I'm not. Hello, Kelly in California. And there's a John Smith comment. Can you? I've already done the Course of Miracles. I did that first. Okay, what makes people do bad things to others, which they themselves have suffered at the hands of others? That's a great question, and it's actually, it might take a little bit, but let me people do bad things to others because they don't know any better, and they find that it's their way of getting power. To give you a really good example, my grandfather was an alcoholic abuser. My father was an alcoholic abuser. Right. My father knew nothing more than to be an alcoholic abuser because that's what he grew up in, and he was abused. Right. So when you look at the pattern there, right, they don't know any better. And so, like for me, my son has never been hit. He's never had any, and I don't drink. But I had to come to the place of realizing that my father was just acting from what he knew. Our grandfather died of cirrhosis of the liver. And when you hear the stories of my grandfather and my grandmother and him screaming for her to go get him another beer, it's whether it was physical or not, it's definitely emotional. So that's the the pattern that gets set up. So people do things. Now, why do they do bad things in general? Usually it's out of fear, and they're trying to be powerful because inside they really feel weak. So they're doing bad things to feel powerful over there because that's where they're getting their adrenaline rush, which is their high. It's definitely an interesting thing. So I hope that answers your question, Chitra. Yeah, Albina Akramova. Unfortunately, Yes, that is the new Earth is here now after 2012. Dolores Cannon said. Unfortunately, Dolores Cannon was the regressionist that I was discussing earlier. She's the one who actually learned her hypnosis through the mail, and I think she's a very well-intentioned person. I think her readings were very much not pure, not clean, not clean. But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying anything bad about her. I also know people who were regressed by her directly, who said that they were really dissatisfied because they really felt like the regressions were about her next book rather than their regression. So please don't say I'm bashing her. I'm not bashing her. I'm just telling you what I've been told and my personal experience. And yes, I spoke to her once. Let's see. I get beat up on it when I even mention her. You know what? I think Luzberry, it was absolutely a professional experience. I was so pleased to have done, and I was very lucky because my regressionist also she was a Jewish woman who had incredible understanding of all different religions. So as she was going through it, she was coming at it from different perspectives, and she was kind of like getting things. And then after we're done, she would explain what she felt, and then she's like, "But you have to stay true to yourself." But she did not change anything during the regression, which is why I went with her. What is my truth or stance when it comes to same-sex marriage? Anyone's clarity and advice on this would help. God is love. Love in any form is never wrong. Marriage is a religious construct. No one ever has to get married. That's just a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make. Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have been together for 30, 40 years now. They've never been married. They're a great couple, right? I have known more lesbian couples and more gay men couples, and they usually have better relationships than the straight people I know because of the hierarchies and the struggles between men and women. To me, I think that there's even a conversation about whether it should be legal or not is disgusting. Because in reality, if it's love, it's God, period. And if you're looking at the world through the concept of I don't like the way you love, and I'm going to stop you from legally getting married because it's wrong in God's eyes, then you're looking at it from the perspective of our laws have to base themselves on certain religions, because some religions don't have those sort of laws or rules. So what it is it's creating a religious government as opposed to an equal government. And so when I look at this, I think it's a sad place that we have to fight for love to be expressed openly, freely, and honestly. I don't care if you're gay, straight, if you're transgender, if you're white, you're black. I don't care. I don't care. We're all equal, and we're all part of God. And for me, in my personal opinion, I've been married 3 times. I would, I don't see myself doing it again because why? I did it out of my own sort of need to have that happen, but I don't ever see that happening for me again. Not because I wouldn't accept a new loving partner in my life, but because of the fact that I want to just love them rather than have that construct and have that binding in that way. Whoever I'm with, I'm with. And if I tell you I'm with you for life, I'm with you for life. But I don't need the government or the churches or anybody else to be in the middle of my love, because my love is here and present, and it's the same thing with anybody else. And like I said, you have to understand, I've also been in theater for a long time, and I've known a lot of very flamboyant people in all directions, and I love every one of them equally. And so I hope that answers your question on that. My stance on it is God is love, and love is never wrong if it's really love. If it's lust and power, then it's not love. It's lust and power. So moving on. I hope that answers your question, Ashley. Kara, thank you so much for the super chat. That really does help, really, truly, honestly does help keep that roof over my head and this microphone in front of my face and that camera in front of my mouth. I guess swap those two. um, um, how can I help my? Okay, let me put you up here. Kara. How can I help my son who is transgender realize he created his body and there is a way to love his body just the way it is? I realize this is complex. I love him regardless of the pronouns. No drugs until 18. I think that if your son is profoundly unhappy in his body, you're going to be struggling with his depression. I think no drugs to 18 is absolutely a very logical rule. We have a construct of you can carry a gun and defend your country at 18, so that is the delineation of adulthood. Personally, I'd like to see all that raised up to 21 myself, but because I remember I was an idiot at 18. But I think that it doesn't. The idea of making it the topic of what your body is and love your body the way it is. Love him. His body is just a construct of the world. He came into this world, he, she, whatever gender he or she is identifying as. He came into this world as a person, an equal person. And if he doesn't feel comfortable or she doesn't feel comfortable in the body, then they're going to suffer with it. And it's a matter of telling them, giving them unconditional love. If you have a condition that you can only love them if they stay one gender, that's not unconditional, that's conditional. I think you need to help them in life and say, go through, this is how I would handle it. I would say, go through these tough years. Go through these years and we'll be there with you. No matter what you want to do, live through up until you can make, that choice on your own as an adult. And I will support you in any fashion, however you are, because I love you. And you're more than just the body. You're more than just the body. The body is just a construct of illusion. And if we're here in this physical body and we hate who we are and we hate what we're doing, then we need to understand that if you have the ability to find yourself, doing drugs to change that. Let me put it this way. If he gets to 18 and he's still feeling this way and you're still stopping him, or you are stopping him, I'm not saying you are now, but if you are stopping him, but what drugs do you want him to take? You want to take him the ones for depression, or you want to take him the ones to make him feel better? Really, everybody I've known who's come up like this with a transgender child, they're always happier afterwards. I used to teach at Oberlin College. I had 2 transgender students in my classes, and they were both going through the change, and they were both very happy who they were. They were very happy to express who they were. They were open, and we all treated them beautifully because we didn't, we treated them, not their gender. And so that's my thought on this. But let them know. Let them know that they're loved unconditionally, and when they become adults, they can make their own choices. But don't make them feel bad about their choice or try to sway them into something other. Let them figure it out, because they may figure it out. It may end up something different. But all the transgenders that I've known have after the change have been happier. And another thing is, the question is, what kind of relationship do you want to have with your child? Do you want to have one where they feel like you don't accept them for who they are, or do you have one where they feel you accept them exactly who they are in every circumstance? That's the question you have to ask yourself. I hope that answers your question in some form. I love this one. I have met multiple people who believe they're Judas and who, under regression, have had experiences of it, actually. And so, like I said, I don't really know what reincarnation really is. And I know that when I was regressed, I had those memories. But it doesn't matter who you were. It doesn't matter who anybody was. There's nothing that can be done back there to change it, right? Being here in the present, you get to do everything. In the conscious present moment, you get to change everything. It doesn't matter who you were. It only matters who you are. And so, for me personally, I'm grateful that I had the experiences I've had. People want to know all about the Joshua stuff. I don't like to talk about the Joshua stuff that much because of the fact that if we're looking backwards, we're going to run to a tree. That's what Robin Williams once said when they asked him to go to a Mork and Mindy reunion. He says, you don't look back if you want to go forward, or you'll just run into a tree. For me, people get so stuck on the New Age dogmas, the Old Age dogmas, the the reincarnation stories, and they forget to be I am. You know, so it really comes down to doesn't matter who you were. It would be cool to find out if you were somebody terrible or horrible, because then you can go, oh, cool, look how great I am now. I'm not anything like that. So that's my thought on that. I hope that answers your question, or at least gives you a perspective on your comment. It's interesting because when I had my regression and the memories that I've had, I felt like me. I I felt like me, right? But it was interesting because I felt like I had more responsibility. I felt like I had more the word escapes me, passion for what I was doing. Um, but in the regression, what was happening was the thoughts in my head was the conversation I was having with the regressionist. So I literally felt like I was there, and I felt like it was me, and I was feeling all the awe and wonder. And if you listen to on my channel, there's a video that says 2 moments from my regression. You'll literally hear me in the regression. First of all, seeing Joshua, and then seeing him on the cross, and so you'll kind of see how I was in those moments and how I was reacting. It's a great question, though. Thank you. I absolutely have read Many Lives, Many Masters, and I think it's a very interesting book. Brian Weiss has done some amazing work. If your question doesn't get answered, sure, put it up again. I'm trying to answer them all, but what happens is when I start to answer them all, I end up going for a really long time. Do I make my own butter coffee? I get up every morning. I take organic coffee beans. I grind it. I put it into a literal grinder. Um, then I cook it in my coffee pot, and then I put my butter into a Ninja blender, and I put my milk or cream, depending on what I have in the fridge that day, into there as well. And then I tighten it up and I blend it so that it's frothy and yummy. And then I pour it in my mug, and then um, that's the coffee you see with the big head on it every morning. I make my own butter coffee. I love it. Um, Jumping down here, we're all divine beings of light. Have to be. We are. Yes, yes. Oh, Chitra, I would never let anybody else talk to you like that. You're not an idiot. You're a special person. I love you to death. Rich, thank you for the super sticker. That's very much appreciated. A cup of coffee. There you go. There you go. um, Chitra. That's what we should. You know what we should do is we should create. And I love this. We should create a John of New tour in coffee shops, and like not like Starbucks or anything like that, like mom and pop coffee shops all over the country, and just go sit and drink coffee. We have to tell them they have to put butter in mine though, so that'd be kind of fun. I'd enjoy that. Um, Hello, Susan Kelly. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Love is love. Let people be who they are in their hearts. Amen. Amen. Yeah, it's when they're so young, and those the transgender, which is what I'm talking about, when they're coming up and they really don't identify, and they're cast out by their classmates. They don't feel like they're accepted. It leads to such horrible places, and they need to have a safe place where they know that no matter who they are, they're loved unconditionally. And unfortunately, there's a lot of parents who just don't accept them, and they end up being these children who are lost in the world alone, in their own homes. And so, to me, it's important that they know that they're loved no matter what. That's all that matters. Let them know they're loved no matter what they are, and they can decide when they are adults. They can decide, and you're going to guide them through your life. And I agree with you, Linda. They do need to be an adult, but but you can't try to force them to be something that they're not if they're not. But literally, just love them for who they are. That's my take on it. This is a great question, and I've actually answered this on videos before, but I think it's a great question in general. What do you think happens to the most evil people when they die, like Hitler, Osama bin Laden, Jeffrey Dahmer, Saddam Hussein, to name a few? If you watch near-death experiences, you find very quickly that every one of them goes through a life review. But the life review they go through, they experience their entire life and all the emotions of that life from the perspective of them and everyone that they affected, positive or negative. So somebody like Hitler, Osama bin Laden, Jeffrey Dahmer, they experience the fears and anxieties and terrors of everybody that they harmed. Now, people like Hitler, you've got thousands and millions of people who are harmed in that, right? So imagine what he had to transition through on the other side. Most of the time when people ask me this question, they're not asking for spiritual reasons. They're asking for physical world justice reasons. They have this idea that they need to be punished for what they've done because that's a physical world justice idea. And in reality, the physical world is just experience. It's the illusion of the valley of death, right? It's the valley of the shadow of death, right? It's an illusion. And we come here, we experience, we do things, we're blooding and harmful, and we go and we experience all that from all aspects. And so everything that has been reaped by you is going to be reaped on you when you cross over. So it really does come down to that balance, that making sure you're doing good while you're here. And the people who don't are going to experience all that. And so that's my take on that. And so I can't imagine anything more punishing than feeling everything you've done to others while you're here, especially if you've done such terrible things. It's an equal measure right back at you. Hi, Kyle. How are you? Welcome, new. I hope you understand that that you're always welcome here on the Live Loving live stream. And by the way, if I can't see the chat board right now, a lot of times I'll get people who will chat, who will put comments under the live stream. The comments do not go to the chat board. You have to use the chat board for me to actually see them. So we jump down here further. Oh, Georgia, thank you for the for the donation. That's awesome. Super chat to $50. Um, it makes it possible, and that is the honest to God truth. Duh, 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 duh. How can we? So here, this is going to be a very unique answer, okay? And for anybody who knows me, you'll know exactly what I'm about to say. But let me read her question here. How can you find balance in life and fully lay into love with faith, especially when dealing with fear of having crisis and disassociation if that person takes meds cause bipolar disorder diagnosis? First of all, if they're going through that struggle, you as someone who is caring or empathic, it's your job to say that's their struggle, not mine, and I'm here in support of them in their struggle. They may be completely terrible to you, but if you can constantly say that's their fear, not mine, you can stay in not a dissociated, but a neutral space. You can turn the other cheek and not have your reaction escalate the situation. The story I used to tell about my friend, well, my friend is an interesting term, but a performer I hired for the Tennessee Renaissance Festival. One day he came walking up to me, he stuck his finger right up at my nose and, "You mother effer," and called me all kinds of terrible names. And first thing I did was I exhaled. I released the fear that could possibly come from that exchange. And I just stood there. I didn't retreat in defense. I didn't go forward in offense. I just went neutral. And because I exhaled, my brain was still working. Because when you inhale out of fear, you shut off the cognitive reasoning. When you exhale and you relax, you turn your brain back on. They're the ones who are not in their minds. They're out of their minds. And so I exhaled and I started saying, "What's he afraid of?" And I came to realize very quickly he was afraid of not making enough money to support his family, right? So I sat there and I just listened. Well, because I wasn't feeding it, his argument stopped. He ran out of things to say. And then I said, "Jerry, I'm so sorry you're having this experience. Nothing was done intentionally to you. How do you want to solve this?" And he stormed off mad. 5 minutes later, he came back and apologized after his his bandmates told him, he said, "We made more money on this show than we did on any other show last year." Right? Because I had actually given him a good slots, but he just was in that state, right? But if I would have gotten defensive, or I would have jumped in his face, we'd have been throwing fists, and it would have been terrible, right? That's his experience. When someone comes up to you mad, sad, frustrated, angry, flipping out in different directions, that's their experience. Now, when you're talking about bipolar, my first wife was bipolar. There were days I'd come home and she'd be giggling on the floor, and other days she'd be lying on the couch wanting to die. And my job was to literally be there and do whatever she needed to feel better, right? But, that marriage didn't last, not because I wasn't in it for the long haul, but because she moved on, right? That's okay. But, you have to realize that you have to exhale. You have to release the fears associated. You have to come back to that balance on your own. It's your choice. To take on their energy is to be in reaction mode. To exhale and choose to stay neutral is being in action. And when you're in action hero, not a reaction zero. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. Cookie, I love that. I love that coffee mug. Monica, well, yeah, dive. We do the live streams every other Friday night, so make sure you come back. It's amazing, Kara. It's amazing to me how many transgender people there are in the world. We hear it now. What's really interesting to me, even more so, is I don't know necessarily about transgender, but in nature, when there's an imbalance of male to female in an animal species, a certain percentage of them will become gay to balance the pack, right? And so it is all very natural. So the question is transgender very natural? Is a natural? But I think they're who they are, and I think it really is back to just love them. Um, jumping over. What is my okay? Here's the important question of the evening. What is my favorite crust? I like a medium to thin. I don't like it super thin, like I like a real serious New York. Medium to thin. I like a light amount of sauce. I like a sweet sauce. My friend in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, Tim, Louis Pizza, been my favorite pizza for life. Here in Ohio, where I am, I would have to say the one that I like the most is called Romeo's Pizza. But yeah, and toppings wise, my favorite pizza, honest to God, is a well done cheese pizza. But I like pepperoni. I like onions sometimes, and yes, even on a very rare occasion, I will blaspheme and have pineapple. So there you go. I hope that does well for you there. Um, is the name I am the same as the creator? When you say the creator, if you're saying God, yeah, you and God are one. So saying I am is declaring in God. So I like to put I am and God with a slash between them as if they are one. So that's how I look at it. And so Moses asked the burning bush his name, and the bush said, I am. So, but I am is also a present moment declaration of your own. So realize that you are co creating. Ask and it is given. And when you ask in an I am statement. Yeah, I love the coffee shop meetups. I think that's such a cool one. The coffee tour. Be coffee time with John. Oh, here's one thing I want to say this. I want to say this to you. This is the Live Loving live stream. This is a place of love and safety, and you never have to be embarrassed here. You ask whatever you want. I'm just speaking from my heart and from my truth. And you are always welcome. You are always loved, and you never have to feel anything of embarrassment here. That's what I want to say to you. Da, 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 da. Kuldeep, I'm not sure what your experience was, but interesting. When I have spiritual awakenings or big spiritual experiences, to me, I always feel like a child. I feel like like I'm in awe or wonder. And so to me, it's Dry Tark, you're representing the tea gang. Guess what? Apple cider. It's fall. Love me some apple cider. Start in Michigan. Oh, Michigan, you're close by. I'm just in Ohio. The best donut in Michigan. Donuts, that'd be bad. Let's not make it the donut tour because I like donuts, and that would be bad. And then my being a Gemini will be the size of 2. That won't be good. Yeah. Love heals everything and everyone. I completely agree with you, Maria. Next, look at the earth is where spirit comes to learn and evolve. My friend Georgia put that up. Yeah, and the thing is, I think we come here to experience, and I really do think that in experiencing, we learn to be more loving, and the more loving we become, that is the evolution, is to come to that space of realizing that we can simply love and just be in that space. I think everybody's looking for Earth to be a school, but I think it really is a place to balance, to come back to being the loving space and getting out of our fears and anxieties. So to me, that's a pretty clear. I think you're exactly right. Yeah, and here back to the thing that people like when you look at what hell really is, though, hell is the word Gehenna was the original word for hell, and they also in parts of the Bible they use Hades, which is the Greek version, but Gehenna specifically was the trash dump on the outskirts of Jerusalem where they used to burn the trash. So the bad stuff went and burned to Gehenna. The concepts of hell that we kind of lean into nowadays didn't come about really until Dante wrote his Inferno in the Middle Ages. So even our whole, set 9 levels of hell and the burning and the fire and the brimstone and all that, that's actually not even from the period. That's from 1,000 years later. So I think that's kind of an interesting concept, especially when you start to look at the historical aspects of it. You find it's very much a different space. I'm going to keep going. Craig Dixon, hello. Oh, there's a face. I don't think I've ever seen your face, Craig Dixon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love this. I love it. Not sure what my beliefs are anymore. Well, what's interesting is if you look at what you're saying here, you went through individual schools of thought. And something I often say is that, God cannot be encompassed by any one school of thought. And so being a hardcore Baptist, you were in that one school of thought. Being an agnostic, you believe there was something, you just didn't know what it was. That's what agnosticism really is, And so when you look at it, you're going down different channels and different beliefs. But I think where you are now is the truth. You're coming back to a place where you feel like you're starting from scratch. I think when you strip away all those pathways and all those dogmas and all those doctrines, you find God. Because, right there in the I am moment, there's a feeling. And God is a feeling. God is love. Love is a feeling. And so you come back to that feeling and you just put that feeling out in the world. You don't need dogma. You don't need doctrines. You don't need ceremonies. You don't need incense. You don't need crystals. You don't need any of it. What you need is love and be love, period. It really is that simple. I leave you one commandment, love one another. It really comes back to that one simple idea of just being loving. And make sure that your love is unconditional. No conditions. Just love. Just be love. And then you are one with God. And the more you are one with God, the less lessons you'll have to learn, because that is really the key to this all. Amy in Texas, thank you for those kind words. I really do appreciate it. For me, as I say to everyone, I'm just speaking my truth. I do not expect you to take anything I say as yours. Everyone is on a personal journey, like my mom said years ago. Spirituality is a personal journey. All I'm doing is putting my truth out into the world, and if people resonate with it and they think it feels right to them, then try it out. If it doesn't work for you, then move on. But all I'm really doing is putting out my truth. Thank you, Maria. And like Marcy said, remember to hit the like button, because right now we only have 37 likes on the stream, and then there's 83 people on the stream right now. So, or 79 watching right now. So make sure you hit the like button. This is a great question. Living from your heart does not mean you're a pushover, right? Someone comes up and tries to get over on you. It doesn't mean, being a kind person, a loving person. First of all, that loving kindness has to go in both ways. And I don't mean to the person and back to you from the person. I mean from you and to you from you. You have to love yourself enough to say, no, not doing that, not putting up with that. I'm not going to allow you to take advantage of me. And what's really interesting is the more loving you are in the situation, the less you'll have those people in your life. Because I have no problem with no being a complete sentence. I have no problem with no being a complete sentence because I love myself enough not to go there. If you watch some of the videos I've made recently about people who've tried to take advantage of me, even the lady who won the PayPal case against me, okay, she got her money back, but I still have my integrity, right? I still said no. And I took it all the way to the top, and PayPal gave it to her, but that's okay. I walked away loving myself and knowing that I was doing the right thing. And people try to take advantage of you. You do not have to take it. Turn the other cheek does not say let them punch you. Turn the other cheek means do not feed their crap. Do not feed their anxieties and their fears. And they come up and they try to take advantage of you. If you're breathing and you're exhaling, you're in the right mindset. You'll notice what they're doing. And the video that's coming out tomorrow is talking about the spiritual entrepreneurs and how they're selling pathways specifically for the money. And it really comes down to you going, okay, does this video make me empowered or not? Is this person saying that the power is within me or something ahead of me in the future that I have to do or experience? And you'll see the video tomorrow. It comes out at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern time. So I hope that answers your question, Maria. And I've often wondered this too, Vanessa, whether the transgender person is just morphing lives. It's like they're in a phase. I'm feel like a woman because in the last life I was a woman. And quite honestly, if the veil is truly getting thinner and we are becoming more loving, there will be a blending. There will be something of going back to the oneness of God where all gender is equal and one. So it's going to be an interesting time as people become more loving. They're definitely not Republican animals. If you're talking about the ones that are gay, you're right. Because they don't have any legal structure in the animal kingdom. How smart are they? Some historians think Joshua shared some of the same apocalypta beliefs as the Essenes, but your experience seems to deny that. My experiences absolutely deny that. It doesn't seem to absolutely deny that because I have a distinct memory of the Essenes trying to make him a Messiah, and he refused to do it. And the reason they wanted to make him a Messiah is because they wanted a king. They wanted a king of the Jews, to literally wipe out and fight Rome. They wanted to create an army and fight Rome. And historically, we know that the Essenes were the first armed conflict against Rome, led by John the Essene. And Joshua wanted no part of, number one, being a Messiah, and number two, armed conflict with Rome. Because that wasn't what we don't need to go there. That's just fear-based struggle against, and his whole thing was just love one another. I leave you one commandment, love one another. And the Essenes were not about love. The Essenes were about messianic fulfillment and defeating Rome and creating their own state based upon their beliefs. So, yeah, I absolutely deny it because I have that memory, which is one of the places where Dolores Cannon and I fall apart because she was very much into that line of thinking. You know what, Bright Love, and I love your name, by the way. I have no desire to teach that way. Everything I would teach is already on YouTube. There's over 1,200 videos out there already. And my desire is to reach as many people as possible. And to take on students would actually be bringing down to a smaller group. The other thing is people have often asked me, are you going to start a new religion? Are you going to do that? And I won't do anything like that because I think all religions need to go away. And if I was to teach, my class would be over really quick. I would say love one another. There's a famous story in the Gnostic text of John of old in his old age in Ephesus, Turkey, and he was the last of the disciples who saw Jeshua alive. He was the oldest one. He died of old age, and they were all saying, please tell us about Jeshua. Tell us about him, please. And John got up and he doddered to the front of the temple there, and he stood up there and he says, "Love one another." And then he turned and he doddered back to his chair, and they're all saying, "Please tell us more. Tell us the secret teachings. Tell us this." He says, "I can tell you no more until you learn this." That's what I'm saying right now. That's exactly what I've done back then too. Just love one another. That is the teachings, and if you put it into practice, you'll learn so much about the world. You'll find that the world is a very loving place if you choose to look for it and choose to be it. But in a world that seems to promote fear, you've got to come to a space of realizing that the bravest people in the world are the loving ones. So that's my thought on that. I hope that answers your question. My pineapple. I finally saw the pineapple. People do try to take advantage of people with kind hearts. You'll notice I don't. You guys don't see all of them. Let me put it that way. When they come in and they're say harmful things, and they tell me that I'm insane, or I'm truly lost and I'm going to burn in hell for what I'm saying. What you guys don't see is I see them pretty quickly, and I write. This might sound terrible, but I love it. I write bye-bye, and I hide them from the channel. And it makes me giggle every time I do it. So that to me is it, right? Chicago. I've been to Chicago actually many times. My ex-wife actually has a booth at the Bristol Renaissance Fair just north of there. Jumping down. Lancaster, Ohio. Another Ohioan. I'm in Akron. You know what? I know Rizzi's well, actually. I have had ice cream or frozen custard at Rizzi's very often. My son went to Spring Garden Waldorf School about a quarter mile away from Rizzi's Pizza on Copley Road. And so I know Rizzi's pretty darn well. Are you from the Akron area? Everything in Decat? Let me know. Apple cider is awesome. Oh, I want to tell you my. I'm going to tell you my pineapple pizza story. I was doing a show in Canada, and I walked into a pizza place in Canada, and I said, "I want a Hawaiian pizza." And they're like, "What's on a Hawaiian pizza?" I said, "Well, it's got ham, pineapple, and Canadian bacon," which is what a classic pineapple. And he goes, "You mean bacon?" Because I was in Ontario. So that's my pineapple bacon story. Canadian bacon story. Oh, Bright Love, this is lovely. I love when people come and say that they're finding their truth on my channel, and the concept of it set me free. It allowed you to breathe, which means you found some truth of your own, which I appreciate hearing that sort of concept, conversation or comment. Why does God test us? God does not test us. We test us. We put ourselves into situations through belief. Most of the time, those beliefs come from lack or from our past experiences. In Buddhism, they say life is suffering. That's the number one quote. But when they translate it correctly, the actual quote is, life is suffering because of our habitual response to our past experience. Those quote-unquote tests are subconscious beliefs playing themselves out. The real key is to start realizing what you're believing about your present moment and changing the belief about your present moment, because the I am moment is the creative moment. It's the pinpoint of creation. The future is coming to you depending on what you believe in the now. And whatever experience is coming in, there was a belief associated with why it was coming. And so when you start to realize that there is no external God who is tempting or testing you, God and you are co-creators as one. And God says, ask, and it is given. Whatever you ask in God's name is granted if you have faith, right? God's name is I am, which means it did not say, whatever you ask in God's name is granted if you have faith and if you can pass this test. It doesn't say that. It says, whatever you ask is given. And how do you ask in God's name? God's name is I am. I am struggling, we'll give you struggle. I am lacking, we'll give you lack. I am unlovable, we'll give you unlovable. I am suffering, we'll give you suffering. I am joyful, we'll bring you that. I am loving, we'll bring you that. But those subconscious beliefs from past experiences have to be changed to break that cycle. And the way you do that is to catch what you're saying about your present moment. Break that cycle. Laugh at it. I don't do that anymore. I'm joyfully creating a life surrounded by people I love who love me in return. I am joyfully abundant and prosperous. I'm happily creating a life, doing something where I feel like I have a purpose and helping people in profound ways. That's my own right there. I'm finding ways to find people in profound ways. And that's my going forward. My goal in life is to help people in profound ways. And so I am joyfully living life, helping people in profound ways. And it really is a choice. So there is no external God who's testing you. There is no external God who's leading you. It's you and God as a co-creator as one. And when you realize that you're that co-creator and that experience is coming to you dependent upon your belief, then you start to realize that, oh, now I know what I've been thinking, and now I can change what I've been thinking. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for enjoying the daily videos, C. Peters. Husband and wife is, like I said, it's a religious man-made construct. I will say this: your loving relationship will live on, but I think it'll be more rich because now you'll understand. And now you'll know. So I would say I wouldn't worry about the labels of husband and wife as nearly as much as I would just be excited about being reunited with that love that you aren't experiencing here in the physical any longer. Because you will be reunited with it, with him. And so be joyful. And here's another thing. Realize this too. You're the one who's away. He just went home. And he knows everything you're doing and everything that you're experiencing. I just did a video that's coming out Sunday talking about mediumship, and I mentioned Deanna Fitzpatrick, who is a great medium. And if you should look her up on YouTube and subscribe to her channel because she is a great medium. My mom, my big old Catholic mom back here, came through Deanna Fitzpatrick now 5 times. Patty, if you're still here, was it 5 times now that she's come through? And if that's the, that tells you right there that they're still around. We just don't see them because we're in the physical. Their veil is lifted and ours is still down. And that's, so understand the love never goes away. Just moving on. Well, they have great names. I just wanted to say that. Xavier, unconditional love. Are the Jewish people waiting for? Yeah, I mean, they're the whole messianic belief comes from the Jewish faith. So it really comes down to understanding that That's where Christianity has got that messianic belief as well. But we don't need to be saved. We need to be awake. We need to be aware, and that's my take on it anyway. As a parent of young children, how can you not have worry or fear about your kids' well-being or safety? Well, first of all, if you're focusing on them being in danger all the time, then you're going to create a life where they're overly sheltered, and you're suffering in fear, right? Of course, you're not going to put them in dangerous situations. I mean, I don't take my kids to dark alleys with $10 bills hanging out of our pockets, right? I don't put myself in those kind of situations. I also don't, in any way, shape, or form, hinder them. The other thing is, if you're your children, speak to them like they're adults who don't have the information yet. Because if you treat them like children, they're not going to grow. My son, well, I spoke to him like he was somebody who didn't have information from the time he was very young, and now he's a wonderful young man who I completely trust and respect. And even when I told this story recently. I dropped him off at a bachelor party, and driving home from the bachelor party, he says, "Dad, I want to let you know there was alcohol at the party, but I didn't have any." And to me, that was a wonderful thing. He's like being completely open and communicative with me, and having an open understanding. We don't have those kind of struggles, because he's turned out to be such a fine man, and I respect him. But they can't do that if you don't allow them to become adults. So that's my thought on it. Don't live in fear, live in happiness. Show them a joyful life. It's funny. People often tell me they think they've met me in a past life. I get some people who say they're sending me psychic messages, and I must not have my satellite dish out because I don't pick them up. Walk up to say Jesus Christ or Charles Manson. I'm not sure which. Yeah. Moving on. So I guess the question I would have to ask you, Xavier, are you deifying Manson or claiming to be Manson? And if so, if you're claiming to be Manson, are you repairing the life of Manson? That's the question. Bright Love, you never have to apologize on one of these live streams. This is a safe place always. You do not have to apologize. Here is you can come in here and say whatever you want, and nobody's going to judge you. And if they do, I will kick their butt. I love this comment here, Tri-Charge, because Neil and I've talked to Neil a couple times now. I interviewed him on the Spirit Cafe podcast and also on my channel, and he and I start laughing, and we get really snarky with each other. We're like old Catholic men, just picking on each other, and it's very fun. I actually really enjoy him. He's a great guy. I already answered that one. Jumping down, looking for the next all caps question. Do you believe in channeling? Check out my video tomorrow. You'll totally get it. Yeah, and actually, if you look up channeling, I actually think I have a channeling playlist on my YouTube channel. If you go there, I think you'll find all kinds of interesting channeling that I did on this channel. So, yeah, I believe it. I do it. Believe in it. Heresy, I tell you. I love that. Hawaiian pizza sacrilege. Well, the Canadian guy said it's just bacon, Sarah. Canadian bacon? You mean bacon? Moving on. Central Pennsylvania. What's part of PA are you? I drive through Pennsylvania on the way to Delaware every time I go down. I'll be in Breezewood probably Christmas Day or the day after. Driving down to pick up my son. Hello. Love Jolu. Same. Dropping down. Trying to zip down here. John the Liberator, freeing us from fear. Well, actually, I would say you're the liberator. I'm just showing you that you can free yourself. Yeah, there you go. My sister says it was 5 times through Deanna Fitzpatrick. Yeah, it totally was at least 5 times. I know with Susan, it was my first sister Susan, my sister Susan, and Patty. And then I went, and I've gone back a couple more times, I think. So I think it's been 5 times now. And Dad came through one time too. So yeah, they're still around. We're the ones who can't see them. Yeah, and here I love this one. Freedom from religion is like shedding 1,000 pounds of guilt and dread off your shoulders. I truly believe enlightenment is setting down all the stuff and getting lighter. And I think we strip away and we come down to the present moment awareness of just being. And in coming back to the present moment awareness of just being, we feel lighter because we don't have all that stuff. When you exhale and you let your muscles relax, you feel lighter because all the fear and anxiety creates burden on the body. That's why the Beatles, when they would say something was depressing, they'd say, man, that's heavy, or what a drag, right? Because they're feeling the weight of their fears and anxieties. And that's really, it does, takes the weight right off your shoulders. You're absolutely right. Oh, Susan, I love that your mom came through. What would be your message to those suffering from suicidal thinking? That is a tough question. I did a whole video on suicide. If you search my channel with the word suicide, you'll find the video on it. I talk about, some people just don't feel right here. Our cousin Carlos, his whole life he never really fit in. He was always the odd guy. He was always a strange guy. And when he finally committed suicide, he came back. He came back to me to deliver a message to his mother. And he kept saying, you need to tell my mother I'm in a better place. You need to tell my mother I'm in a better place. And I worked my way into the conversation with my aunt, and I said, I saw Carlos last night. She says, is he in a better place? So he never fit in here. He never felt right here. And now he's in a better place. He's in a place that he's better. So how would I talk to a suicidal person? The only thing I would do with a suicidal person, I would let them know they're loved. Because the thing that they're not feeling is love. The thing that they're not feeling is love. The only way you can really help someone who is suicidal or in one of those states is to show them unconditional love, no matter what. Love them no matter what. And there's, some people may never feel like they fit in and they may take that horrible step, right? Many won't. But it really comes down to you being unconditional loving to them so they have the off-ramp to not go there. So that's what I would say is I would just let them know I love them, period. Hope that answers your question. Love is eternal. This is a great question, Ralph. I love it. Knowing the Bible has been edited, why do many quote it? Are there other books we should refer to? Thank you for sharing your knowledge and helping people see the light. You are quite welcome. Because in all books, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the writings of Buddha, of the Vakanamrut, um, the prophetic revelations of Paul Solomon, the the life and teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, the second coming of Christ by Yogananda, you know, all Shakespeare, you know, God is found everywhere, but the Bible has got some great quotes. What I say is read them all. And when you read them, reach down and pick up your love goggles and put on those love goggles firmly and only read the loving parts. If it's fearful or hateful or angry or talking about war or talking about burning in hell, that's not God, because God is love. And right in the book of John, which best book in the Bible, says no fear can exist in pure love. Well, if no fear can exist in pure love, then all of that fire and brimstone and hatred and judgment is not of God. It's of the mind of man. And you can find beautiful truths in all of it. Shakespeare, there are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in our philosophy. Shakespeare, words without thoughts, never to heaven go. Right? It really comes down to realizing that you can find truth everywhere. Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. Named must your fears be, before banish it you can. Right? Those are very wise words coming out of a puppet with somebody's hand somewhere weird. And when you look at it that way, you can find truth everywhere. So people quote the Bible because it's the most famous. But I quote the Bible all the time. But I quote the loving parts. I don't dive into the fearful parts. And I think that's the way we should always use our own discernment. If God is love, then read the loving stuff. The rest of it can't be of God if it's not love. So that's my thought on that, Ralph. I hope that answers your question. You guys should see this library over here. It's crazy because it's got all these spiritual books, and then it's got all these stage combat and sword books, and then it's got professional speaking books. It's just it's got a skull. It's got the skull of Yorick on my shelf over there. Maybe I'll set that up on at my other desk one night and do videos from it. So. I think it's great that you're treating children like they're people. Because there's so many people I know who talk to the baby talk. That doesn't help anybody. Talk to them like they're. My son learned sign language before he could speak. And we didn't have the terrible twos because he could say want and give me and need and all those things before he could speak. So by the time the words replaced him and he stopped using his hands, it was just communication. The terrible twos is just a lack of communication, not being able to communicate effectively. But he could because he learned communication without words first. So I agree with you about Elizabeth. I agree with you. Suicide is the pain is for the people who are left behind. The ones who suicide when they cross over, they've kind of relieved their pain. Jumping down. Oh, okay. Well, Xavier, I'm glad that's what you're talking about. Where might we have met, Xavier? Maybe a Renaissance festival somewhere? Because in the 90s, I was traveling all over the country doing Renaissance festivals. Clear from... Okay, and I'm not sure where Clearfield, Ohio is, so I'm trying to zip down because we're gonna run out of time here soon. This is an interesting question. I touched briefly on the Kundalini experience in my Next Level Soul. I've told this story many times. I was in a tent in New Orleans. And I had seen that week a thing on 60 Minutes about Buddhist monks who went into a freezer. And they put cold, wet towels on them. When they came out of the freezer, their temperature was 98.6 and the towels was 120. And they literally had warmed themselves in a freezer with wet towels on them. And I was lying in the tent and I said, I am warming my body up. I didn't even think about you have to have training to do this. I am. I just gave an I am statement. I am warming my feet. And I started focusing on my feet being warm, and my feet got warm. And I slowly brought the heat up my legs because it was lying in a tent and I was cold. And I was focusing on the heat of my feet and bringing the heat up my legs. And as I brought it up my legs, it came all the way up through my knees, my thighs, my pelvis. My abdomen came to my chest. It wouldn't go any higher. And then when I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to force it, I'm trying to get it to go higher. And I heard a thought, and the thought said, relax into it. And I just exhaled and I let go. And boom, I could see white in all, and I could feel everything. I could feel the oneness with everything around me. I could feel heat flying from me in all directions. And I was just in this pure bliss, unconditional love state. I felt like my arms were out to my side, even though they were still crossed in front of me. And I just was in this just complete oneness with everything. It was an incredible experience. So within a week, I did the most important thing I did along my early spiritual journey, because that was one of my first big experiences. I called my sister Patty, who stalks this live stream. I called her up and I was telling her the experience, and she said, you should get a book called The Celestine Prophecy. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll get it. I completely forgot the name of the book. And I went to work, and on my lunch break, I ran over to the Borders bookstore, which was next door, and I'm walking through the store, and I'm trying to figure out what was that book she was talking about. And I felt this hair stand up on the back of my neck, and I turned around, and it was the only book facing out. And that was really the beginning of my journey. But that Kundalini Rising experience, that night was life-changing. The next night, I had my first out-of-body experience. And then I started seeing all the colors in motion in my mind. And then I started having spontaneous, I would lay down and boom, and I'd have another one of those experiences. It was like I had popped the cork and things were just flowing. It was a very, very crazy and amazing and wonderful experience. And people talk about, the Kundalini hurts and all this stuff. I've never experienced any pain in that at all. I experienced some fear in the early process of it. But once I released the fears and relaxed into it, like I was told, everything was easy. You got to realize the struggles in life, the pains we feel, are because of our own anxieties and stresses about it. The more fearless you are, the greater your experience. Every transcendental experience you will ever have will be two things: present moment and fearless. You get present moment and fearless, and it all opens up. It is that easy. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to keep moving here, so I'm going to wind down here in about 8 minutes. So, pink or red starburst? I don't like starburst. Sorry, they're too tangy for me. I believe he did go to the Jesuit did go to India. I believe when John met him, he was returning from India. I believe also. If you really want to find some interesting stuff about that, look up Sri Isa, and you'll find the stories of Sri Isa in India, and where he was and what he did. And when you're in India and you ask people about Sri Isa, they'll tell you that he went back to his country and was crucified. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I totally think that. Moving on. Being a good listener. This is a belief that you're holding on to. You can be grateful that he is now relieved of his pain rather than focusing on his pain. You could now be so happy that he is now immersed in pure love. Be happy for him. The only thing, the pain that's left behind is the fear of not having his love. But his love is omnipresent because he's part of God. But you choosing to take on that pain is your conscious present moment choice, and that can lead nowhere good. So choose to accept that he did that and say, I'm glad he is free of his pain, and be happy that he is free of his pain because he is experiencing pure love. You don't have to carry it. There's nothing to carry. That was his experience. It was his choice. And you can be grateful that he is now no longer suffering in the physical. So that's my thought on that. Sorry, I'm rushing through these things. There's so many. I want to make sure I get as many as I can. Moving on, jumping down. Joe, I want to let you know that there is, in the next week or so, on the other channel, my basics of the Tao for recovering Catholics is coming out. It'll be very quick. Yes, I read it. So that video is coming soon. Jumping down. Whew. Okay. At the bottom of the page. I made it to the bottom. Woo! Feel good. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wind this thing up. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And everyone, make sure you go over and you, if you haven't subscribed to Spirit Made Me Do It, make sure you click on Marcy's name and go over there and subscribe so that you can get in on her contest to get one of her free readings. I've heard nothing but great things about them. If you haven't subscribed to her channel, and you get daily stuff from Marcy as well. And so, go sign up. Marcy is an absolute doll baby, and Marcy, you know what I mean. And I just love her to death. And so, go ahead and do that for her. And thank you all for coming, and thank you all for listening, and thank you all for loving. Thank you all for going out into the world and loving and spreading love, when you love others, you are delivering God, and you are the direct pinpoint of the delivery. And so go out into the world and deliver. Just go out and deliver. And when you deliver, guess what? You receive, because that's the way the world works. And thank you all for all of the wonderful comments and questions, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in a couple weeks. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you later. Bye.